Yo, it is Maffu, and today I'll be ranking all the commanders from KVK 1 and 2, even the greens and blues. Yeah, these ones were a little bit scuffed. I couldn't find icons for them, so I'm doing my best here. You can tell what they are, right? We got Centurion, we got Sarka, we got Lancelot, we got Gaius, we got Tomo, and Constance. Now, this list is my opinion, by the way. It is not a fact that these are the best or worst commanders. So do your own research on whether or not you should invest in a commander. This is my opinion. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's start with the greens. Now I'm actually gonna put Markswoman at. I low-key need a new tier, don't I? Okay, I'm gonna add a row below for E tier, and I'll make the color blue. Now I do think Markswoman is a terrible commander, but she does have some uses. As a peacekeeper, you can use her in the early game to get extra resources while attacking barbarians. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll quickly open up the game and show you. If you look at this, when this commander troop spends action points to defeat barbarians, you'll gain 15 level 1 resource pack Cs. Now, it's not a lot, it's 15,000, but if you are using her to 5 march barbarians or do marauders as a peacekeeper, you also save AP and you get extra resources. It's not the worst thing in the world. Come on, let's be serious. There's worse. Now back to the list. We have City Keeper. I'm actually put City Keeper right above Markswoman. Maybe even a B. Nah, I'll keep him C for now. Now, if you don't know, City Keeper is actually really good in the Sunset Canyon early game. Only early game. So if you want some extra points in Sunset Canyon, you can level him up and he will be a decent option for the early game. Next is Dragon Lancer. Now I'm actually going to put Dragon Lancer at the C tier as well, for the reason that he is really easy to level up and he's good at collecting runes for free to play or low spenders. Now I use Dragon Lancer in my rune collecting march, and one of his skills does give him 10% march speed. Now this is actually pretty decent. So my rune march is Belisarius primary with Dragon Lancer 10% march speed. This is the same as Cow Cow, by the way. Cow Cow only gets 10% as well. The last green is Centurion, and I'm obviously gonna put him in the F for farming. He is a farmer, and I gotta say he's not good at farming, but he's not bad. But he is gonna be the worst farmer on this list. Now let's get into the blues. So we got Sarka, F for farming, above Centurion though. Next is Lancelot, and I'm actually put Lancelot in the E tier, even below all these greens, because I think he is actually useless. He's worse than Dragon Lancer as a rune gatherer. He gets less march speed. So if you want a rune gatherer, just go for Dragon Lancer. He's faster. Now I want to put Gaius right in front of Sarka. They're practically the same. Actually, I'm gonna put Sarka right in front of Gaius, actually. They're practically the same. Sarka is more consistent across more resources. Gaius is more specialized in food. Next, we got Tomo, and I do think she's an okay early game commander. She's definitely not useful past a couple of weeks into the game. You're gonna have better commanders than that. I still actually use Markswoman in my peace killing army. She's gonna get replaced eventually, but she's there for now, so I'm gonna put her above Tomo for now. The next gatherer is Constance, and she is one of the best early game gatherers because of her 4th skill that allows her to get bonus resources when she finishes farming a node. Now that's it for the blue commanders. Next, we got purples. Now for purples, I'm gonna put Sun Tzu in the S tier, of course. He is amazing. I use him in my march in KVK 2, and he still cooks. I'm getting 3 million KP reports with Sun Tzu. As a secondary though. In KVK 1, I ran him as a primary. Next, we got a Baibars. I'm going to put him in A tier because he is really good in KVK 1, but he's not as good as Sun Tzu. He's still a really good option. He's probably the best free-to-play low-spender cav option in KVK 1. The next commander is Lohar, and we're following a trend. I'm going to move Lohar into the B tier. He is really good for killing barbarians and getting XP to your commanders. If you look at his 3rd skill, he gets an extra 70% XP bonus. So if you're running Guardians, you can run Lohar primary with a commander behind him, get some XP. He's still useful. And into the late game, I still use him during Guardians. Well, when I do them, I'm a little bit lazy. The next purple commander is Joan of Arc. I would say she's in the B tier. I would put her behind Lohar Now she is good in Sunset Canyon in the early game, and she's a decent gatherer. That's why she's in B tier. I don't really see her in the open field at all. She just doesn't provide enough, I don't think. Next up, we got Kusunoki, and I think I'm gonna put him, I'm debating between B and C. Now this is my list, and I don't run archers, so I don't know how good Kusunoki is as an archer commander. I do think he's the best free-to-play option for archers in KVK 1 and 2 because he's purple and he's pretty easy to level up, and he's also AoE, and AoE is important. So just for that, I'll put him in B. I don't really know how good he is. I haven't played him before, so if he's not that good, tell me in the comments. Next up, we got Hermann. I think Hermann has very niche uses, and I personally have never used him or seen him used. I know he does have a silence, which is kind of good, but I'm not super convinced that he's actually viable. Next up, we got Belisarius, and I'm going to put him in the B tier as well, but I'll put him in front of Lohar. He's the top of B tier, and the reason for this is he's actually useful for gathering runes, and he's useful for farm killing. He's not useful other than those two things. You should not level him up unless you're planning on farm killing or using him to gather runes. Next up, we got Bjorn. Now Bjorn is a solid option for early game. I do think he's not super worth investing in because when I played him in KVK 1, he got worse results. I was running Bjorn in Sun Tzu secondary, and it was worse than Sun Tzu 8th of Flood. I still do think he's viable and maybe even better than Kusunoki, so I'll put him right there in B tier. Next up, we got Imhotep. Now this guy is very interesting. I don't really know if he's good or not, or what I know he's a debuffer, but in my opinion, if you're debuffing so your allies can do more damage, it's not that good. You should just be doing more damage yourself, and he's wasting a secondary slot in my opinion. So I'm going to move him down to the C tier. I'll put him at the top of C tier, and I'm going to also move Hermann up and City Keeper down. This is my C tier. Now we have Osman, and he is... I looked at his abilities. His damage seems decent for killing cities, and you're just never going to use him for that. I don't think he's worth investing. I won't put him at E tier because E tier is useless. I will put him at D tier. I'll put him at the top of D tier. I don't think he's very useful, but you might be able to find some success with him in the early stage of the game because his extra damage factor every time he uses an active skill is actually pretty decent. Next up, we got Matilda, and Matilda is a farmer, and I'm actually going to put her slightly behind Constance because Constance does almost exactly what Matilda does, but she's a blue and Matilda's a purple. Next up, we got Eulji Mundeok. Now, he seems okay. He doesn't have AoE, and the real problem is that his abilities get really going when he's getting attacked. That just seems like a bad mechanic to base your commander off of, like getting a hit on. Whoa, getting hit on. So I'm going to drop him into the C tier, and actually I'm going to move him to the D tier, honestly. And I'll put him slightly above Osman because you can use him without attacking cities. Now the next commander is Tamar, and she is a gatherer, but she's not a very good gatherer, and she might even be worse than Centurion. Let me quickly check their abilities. Okay, she's definitely not worse than Centurion. Centurion is terrible. I didn't even realize, but she's worse than these blues at gathering. Now Scipio is the next commander, and I'm not a big fan of him, partially because one of his skills makes him stronger when his health gets lower. And if you're playing him in the open field, you're better off using someone that's just stronger right off the start. And he's also a city attacker. I will put him in the D tier, probably below, maybe slightly above Osman. Next commander is Keria, and I'm not a really big fan of her. She might be strong, but the only way you unlock her is from the Cerulli shop. And there's just so many better things you can get than her champion shards. Like, you're not missing out if you don't get her. I've never seen her in the open field. No one goes her. It's just not that important. Now Boudica is a worse Lohar. She's worse at everything. Her skill damage might be slightly higher, but she's not very good at anything besides killing barbs. And I expertised her personally to try to kill forts, and I couldn't even kill the forts with her. So I just wasted purple heads. I will put her in C tier though. I think all the commanders in D tier are worse than her. Now, Pelagius, I am not a big fan of. I think his damage is okay, but it's just okay for an early game commander. I don't think he's worth investing in. I will drop him into D tier. Above these three though. Now we get into the last three. I'll do the farmer first. I believe she's around here. I think these two are interchanging, but these blue ones I think are slightly better. I'm not 100% sure, but the most important things are Constance and Matilda. Now for Catherine, I'm actually gonna drop her in the S tier, and she is a siege commander you unlock in KVK 2, and you 100% want to save purple heads for her. She is insanely strong. Not only is she strong, but the gear to make siege strong is very cheap. You just need the blue set and some purple weapon and purple gloves, and you're golden for siege. Now Narses is slightly weaker. I'll still drop him in the A tier. I think for KVK 2, these are the only two siege commanders. If you run Catherine primary with Narses secondary, you will output so much damage and your reports will look insane. Yo, this is the end of the video, and surprise to no one, I am late on my upload. I apologize for that. I've been editing this video and it's taking way longer than I expected. So I'm going to cut it into two parts. I'm going to upload the part I finished editing now, which is the green, blue, and purple commanders, and the legendary commanders will come out in a day or two. So if you're interested in those, stick around, subscribe. Now I do want to say that we hit 100 subscribers on the channel, and I say we because I mean there's been so much support from the kingdom I'm migrating to, 26, and the kingdom I'm currently in, 85. They have supported this channel so much recently, and it's honestly making me so happy. So thank you guys for the support. I just realized that my game is out of frame. Ignore this. Okay. And for reaching 100 subscribers, I do have a somewhat special video planned. I'll be looking at the account I made 5 years ago as a junior in high school. If you're not American, that might be a little confusing, but I was in high school. And it is terrible and embarrassing and all of the above. So I'm ready to embarrass myself. So I hope you guys are excited for that, because I am excited to dig into the tech tree, the commanders, the gear. Now, a little disclaimer, that account only made it to Zone 2. I quit before Zone 3. I quit before KVK. So it's not going to be as good as you might think. I did spend a little bit of money on it. A lot of money. And it all went down the drain. That account is useless now. It is really bad. Now, I might be teasing this, but since you made it to the end of the video, I could maybe start a series where I try to revive that account. I migrate it. I think I can migrate it to KVK 2. So I could try to revive that account. It is a cav account. If you're interested in that, make sure you leave a comment down below. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and peace. Leave a like.